Yeah. This that special sauce. And that drip, I wiped it off. $1 million worth of game. Can't feel that I work too hard. Poetry on
Test 1 2 1 2. It's your boy Dope Boy Diesel. We back in the motherfucking Doja room. Y'all know what the fuck it is, man. It's been a little minute, a little minute, but I have arrived. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Dom DeMarco.
We in here. Y'all go ahead and get in here. Y'all know what this is about. Y'all know what we got to talk about today. Go ahead and slide. It's your boy Dope Boy Diesel. We back in the Doja room. Once again, we talking hip hop. We talking Drake. We talking UMG. We talking this case. We gonna get into all of that. Go ahead and slide. Go ahead and slide. First and foremost, to all my stoners, hippies, and hip hop enthusiasts, go ahead and light your blunts up. Y'all know what we do here in the Doja room. Okay. You might need it today. You might be a little bit upset. No need to be upset today. If you're a Drake fan, in my personal opinion, there's no need to be upset today. Um, Things like this obviously are bound to happen. And to people who are a little bit just a little bit too invested, if you're upset today, you might be a little bit too invested. I'm not gonna lie. But for my people that are a little bit too invested, just understand that the boy is still thriving. The numbers didn't go anywhere. The numbers didn't drop. Nothing stopped. You know what I'm saying? The world is still spinning. And like I was just saying, shout out to my boy K Mills. He got the space open right now, but I had to come through and open the Doja room. But like my boys, like I was saying in his space, like we don't really necessarily understand or know what Drake has gotten from UMG. Uh, there's just so much things that he took out of Discovery, from the contracts to any evidence of pedophilia being discussed or illegitimate children being discussed. He asked for all of that. And we don't know exactly what he knows right now. Okay? I feel like that's a big reason why he didn't go into the whole expose in Iceman episode 3, because obviously, there's more developments to be had in this whole back and forth that we're seeing. So um obviously we're gonna have to be a little patient to see how all of this shit makes sense. Now the facts that we know are true is there was some wrongdoing here. Okay, we know from this case being a thing that one track was pushed and not the other. One track was, you know what I'm saying, boosted and pushed on radio and, given all of these accolades, and another one wasn't. We also found out that a lot of people may have been chatting behind the scenes about the legitimacy of what's being claimed and how Drake is moving. And ultimately, this is for Drake to get his bread. You know what I'm saying? He's coming to get his money. He wants to get his money from UMG. And if he's going to re up another contract, you know what I'm saying? He needs more than 400 mil. Now, obviously, UMG is not trying to pay that. They're not trying to cough up that bread. Um, and today, let's just read the headlines, because if you haven't known and you're getting this for the first time from the Doja room, then welcome. Go ahead and take a seat. We're gonna be here for a little minute, but uh, the case against UMG in Drake's case has been dismissed. The judge dismissed the case today. So that means this will no longer proceed. Um, I have got word that there's some appeals going on, and they're obviously going to appeal this. But yeah, this is just the new development that's going on, okay, in this case. So it says because the court concludes that the alleged defamatory statements in Not Like Us are non-actionable opinion, the motion to dismiss is granted. So they went ahead and granted this motion to dismiss this case. It says this case arises from perhaps the most infamous rap battle in the genre's history, the vitriolic roar of words that erupted between superstar recording artist Aubrey Drake Graham and Kendrick Lamar Duckworth uh, in the spring of 2024. Over the course of 16 days, the two artists released 8 so-called diss tracks with increasingly heated rhetoric, loaded accusations, and violent imagery. So the penultimate song of this feud, Not Like Us, by Kendrick Lamar, dealt the metaphoric killing blow. The song contains lyrics explicitly accusing Drake of being a pedophile, set to a catchy beat and propulsive bass line. Yo, who wrote this? These niggas is crazy. Uh, it said went on to become a cultural sensation, achieving immense commercial success and critical acclaim. Both Drake and Kendrick Lamar have recorded contracts with defendant UMG Recordings Incorporated. Drake alleges that UMG intentionally published and promoted Not Like Us while knowing that the song's insinuations that he has sexual relations with minors are false and defamatory. So Drake has brought this action against UMG for defamation, harassment in the second degree, in violation of Section 349 of New York General Business Law. Before the court is defendant's motions to dismiss pursuant to Rule 12B, legal jargon, yada yada, of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. Because the court concludes that allegedly defamatory statements in Not Like Us are non-actionable opinion, the motion to dismiss is granted. So that's them basically saying, all right, fuck it. We're going to go ahead and let this shit ride. So it says to survive a motion to dismiss, a complaint must contain sufficient factual matter accepted as true to state a claim to relief that is plausible on its face. Kaplan versus Lebanese Camden Bank. More legal jargon. It says a plaintiff may not simply allege facts are consistent with liability. The complaint must nudge plaintiff's claims across the line of conceivable to plausible. More legal jargon. And then it says threadbare recitals of the elements of a clause of action supported by mere conclusory statements do not suffice. When ruling on a motion to dismiss under Rule 12b-6, the court accepts as true all well-pleaded allegations and draws all reasonable inferences in favor of non-moving party. The court need not credit legal conclusions couched as factual allegations. However, and then it ends right here. Do we got more? We don't got more. Obviously, we're not going to read the whole shit. But basically, it seems like what they're saying is not that it's factual, but basically, if this shit aligns with anything in these basic guidelines of where these statements fall under, they're basically saying it's fair game. They're basically saying that, you know, Kendrick didn't violate or UMG in this case, didn't violate any type of, they didn't put this out with malicious intent or any kind of intent to say that we're trying to ruin Drake. And perhaps they have not uncovered anything or any talks or any evidence that would conclude that UMG was trying to do this. So far, that's basically how we're taking this. Okay? That's basically how we're taking this. They haven't found any evidence to say that UMG is basically trying to devalue Drake. Now, obviously, like I said, they're appealing this. There's people who disagree. But we also have to realize that, I mean, just personally, I don't see how you come to this conclusion with just looking at the effects of this track. So many people actually believe these statements in this song to be true. Oh, why would Kendrick just make a song and just be saying things like that? We all have seen these statements. These people actually believe this shit. And it's not because Drake has this, tumultuous history or this question mark on his past to say that he dabbles with younger kids. This was never any type of real thing, at least to my knowledge. This was never a thing until this track. Until this track, you didn't have people playing internet detectives in Millie Bobby Brown's defense, in which all of these people have come out to say that they have never once felt uncomfortable around Drake, felt pressured to do any sexual acts, have never done any sexual act, nothing of the sort. These people have came out and said all of this shit isn't true. So obviously, like I said in the space, they're looking at this from a lens of, we all know that none of this is true. We all know this is just talk. This is just rapping back and forth. This is just the beef. This isn't about factual evidence. And, if you want to go that route, I guess. But there are lasting effects of that track. You can say it's for one reason or another, but there are lasting effects from that track. And I don't think you just dismiss this without us seeing some type of real evidence. And perhaps we can get to the rest of that evidence if we may. Perhaps we can get to the documents to really open up and see what the hell is going on. Oh, Sneeko has been officially unbanned on YouTube after 3 years due to COVID misinformation. That's crazy. That's wild. They unbanned the kid. Shout out to that boy. I don't really see anything on the case, but let's get to this report real quick from Lauren LaRosa, because she has a excerpt from a spokesperson for UMG, which tells her from the outset, this suit was an affront to all artists in their creative expression and never should have seen the light of day. We're pleased with the court's dismissal and look forward to continuing our work successfully promoting Drake's music and investing in his career. So they playing their politics, with their little statement there. They playing their politics. They doing what they got to do. Um, but I don't necessarily see. I don't see the court documents yet. I haven't really gotten those. Okay, we just found it. Um, so yeah, we read a little bit more. We read a little bit of this already. But we're gonna get into the rest of it. I think we left off right here. But so okay, so it's basically saying the court may also consider documents incorporated in the complement reference in matters of which judicial notice may be taken. Is appropriate when matter is not subject to reasonable dispute because it is generally known within the trial court's territorial jurisdiction or can be accurately and readily determined from sources who accurately cannot reasonably be questioned. The following background is largely taken from the allegations in the amend complaint, which are assumed true for purposes of this motion. Additionally, defendant requests the court take judicial notes of certain intrinsics or intrinsic evidence pursuant to Rule 201 of the Federal Rules of Evidence. These exhibits include the lyrics of the songs released as part of Drake and Kendrick Lamar's rap battle. The dates on which these songs were released and the lyrics of these songs are not reasonably subject to dispute. And the songs themselves are, with one exception, all referenced in amended complaint. According to the court, will take judicial notice Exhibits H through 1 and Exhibits K through O to the request for judicial notice. Understand the defendant allegations in their necessary and proper context. So they're saying this is just this whole rap beef takes place in a separate context that is not the same as, I'm guessing, just saying these things outright, or them putting this out. If you look at any other company putting out information like this that is seen as defamatory, in the context of a rap battle, this is looked at differently. So you're able to say this man's a pedophile and this, that, the third, and wild out and do all of that. You're able to say all of these things, and that exists in a different context because you're in a rap beef. Exhibits B, J, and P are directly referenced and relied upon in plaintiff's amended complaint. So those documents are likewise properly before the court. And because the document can be accurately and readily determined from sources who accurately cannot reasonably be questioned, the court also takes judicial notice of the search results from the New York Times website in Exhibit C. The court takes judicial notes of the existence of the listed articles, but not the truth of their contents. Taking judicial notes of 4 websites on motion to dismiss because courts in this circuit generally have the discretion to take judicial notice of internet material. It's generally proper to take judicial notice of articles and websites published on the internet. Drake is a prominent recording artist and songwriter among the other public, and this says the factual allegations, okay? Drake is a prominent recording artist and songwriter among other public-facing endeavors. Drake has had a successful music career under defendant UMG for at least 20 years. UMG uses its brands and imprints or labels to provide its music artists with the means to create, promote, and distribute their music commercially. Defendant through the Universal Music Publishing Group holds exclusive publishing and distribution rights to Drake's music as well as that of Kendrick Lamar. On April 19th, 2024, Drake released a diss track directed at Kendrick Lamar called Push Ups. Drake mocks Kendrick Lamar's height, shoe size, how the fuck you big stepping with a size 7 men's on, pipsqueak pipe down, and questions Kendrick Lamar's success. You ain't in no big three. I'm at the top of this mountain, so you tight now. Just to have this talk with your ass, I had to hike down. They said a few days later, Drake released Tailor Made Freestyle, in which he used artificial intelligence generated voices of deceased rapper Tupac and of rapper Snoop Dogg to goad Lamar. In track, Tupac and Snoop Dogg share their disappointment that Lamar had not yet responded to Push Ups. Kendrick, we need you, the West Coast savior. You seem a little nervous about all that publicity. You gotta show this fucking now who's the boss on the West. Drake, in his own voice, further taunts Kendrick for failing to come up with satisfactory response, saying, I know you're in that NY apartment. You struggling right now. I know it. I know it. In that notepad doing lyrical gymnastics, my boy. Drake also surmises that Kendrick was purposefully delaying his response because artist Taylor Swift had just released a new album. Shout out to Taylor Swift, biggest gangster in the music game right now. She got the whole PG laying on mute like that Beyonce challenge. Y'all boys quiet for the weekend. Lamar fired back at Drake in Euphoria, which was released on April 30th. Lamar claims, I make music that electrify him. You make music that pacify him. And he would spare Drake this time that random acts of kindness. He accuses Drake of fabricating claims. Don't tell a lie about me. I won't tell truth about you. He'll tell truth about you. He insults Drake's fashion sense. Now, I just want to stop there because the nigga clearly says, I'm not gonna tell truth. I won't tell truths about you. But hey, okay, we'll just skip over that. He said he insults Drake's fashion sense. I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk. I hate the way that you dress. He further raps, I believe you don't like women. It's a real competition. You might you might pop ass with them. They put all of this shit in the documents. Who wrote this shit? They wildin'. And Drake taunts Drake for being a coward with his responses. He says, I hate the way that you sneak this. If I catch flight, it's gonna be direct. And then he says on May 3rd, 2024, the feud between Drake and Kendrick Lamar escalated as they lobbed increasingly vicious personal accusations at each other over the course of the day. First, Lamar released 616 in LA at 3, in which he calls Drake a terrible person. Lamar accuses of Drake of playing dirty with propaganda and raps that if Drake was street smart, then he would have caught on that his entourage is only there to hustle him. Drake's next response arrived later that day in Family Matters. Drake jabs at Lamar's relationship with his partner. You the black messiah wifing up a mixed queen, and hit Vanilla Cream to help out with your self-esteem. On some Bobby shit, I want to know what Whitney need. It then implies that Lamar physically abused her. He says, you a dog and you know it, you just play sweet. Your baby mama captions always screaming, save me. You did her dirty all your life, you trying to make peace. They said, moreover, Drake calls into question whether Lamar is the biological father to one of his children. I heard that one of them little kids might be Dave Freeze. Don't make it Dave Freeze. Cause if your GM is your BM secret BD, then this is all making plenty fucking sense to me. Hey, let that shorty breathe. Shake that ass, bitch. Hands on your knees. Hands on your knees. Hands on your
Dom
knees.
DeMarco.
Shake that ass for Drake. Yeah, we gotta give him a Don DeMarco for that one. Like, stop playing with this nigga. They said almost immediately after the release of Family Matters, Lamar unleashed the scathing Meet the Grams, in which he accuses Drake of being a deadbeat father and of hiding the existence of other children. You lied about your son. You lied about your daughter. You lied about them other kids that's out there hoping you come. Lamar also alleges that Drake has gambling problems, drinking problems, pill popping and sleeping problems, bad with money. yo, I mean, I don't know. It just wasn't. None of this shit was hitting. This like, I think we just gotta give it up. Like, Family Matters was the best song in the beef, bro. Family Matters was the best song in the beef. It just was. I'm sorry. It just was. There's no way that we don't look at this shit as the best song in the beef. If you're not looking at it as the best song in the beef, it was better than all of this shit. What is this nigga talking about? What is he talking about? He wasn't really talking about shit. Like, oh, you pill popping and like, what are you talking? The nigga, I ain't even gonna get into that. We ain't even gonna get into all that. We ain't even gonna get into all of that. But still, like, what is this nigga talking about here? Like, he further insinuates that Drake was a predator and that Drake should die so all these women can live with a purpose. The next day, on May 4th, Lamar released Not Like Us, will explicitly names Drake and his associates as pedophiles. Specifically, the track contains the following lyrics. Oh shit. To any bitch that talked to any bitch that talked to yo, they put the whole fucking they put the whole fucking like, hold up. We just need to take this minute to give you this, you know what I'm saying? Who was rapping this shit in court? Was niggas saying this shit out loud? Was niggas saying this shit out loud, bro? Come on, who was saying this shit? They said to any bitch that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from him. They tell me Chubb's the only one that gets your hand-me-downs and party at the party playing with his nose now. And Baca got a weird case. Why is he around? Certified lover boy? Certified pedophiles. And then he got the WAP. They put the, why they had to add this part in here? WAP, 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 WAP. Dot, fuck him up. Who is in court saying this? Who is in court saying this? WAP, 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 WAP. I'ma do my stuff. Did they play the lyrics with this? Did they play the instrumental? Why you trolling like a bitch? Ain't you tired? Trying to strike a chord and it's probably a minor. And then they said on May 5th, 2025, Drake responded with The Heart Part 6, directly denying Lamar's allegations of pedophilia. I never been with no underage, but now I understand why this the angle that you really mess with. Just for clarity, I feel disgusted. I'm too respected. If I was fucking underage girls, I'd probably get arrested. I'm way too famous for this shit you suggested. Yeah, like, come on. I ain't gonna hold you. The Heart Part 6. So he was flowing. He said, Drake is not a name you gonna see with no sex offender list. He said, also, in the track, Drake further sneers that this Epstein angle was the shit I expected and accused Lamar of wanting to misdirect. Drake also alleges that he had planted some of the information Lamar has used against him. We plotted for a week and then fed you the information. But you so thirsty, you not concerned with the investigation. You gotta learn to fact check things and be impatient and be less impatient. They said Not Like Us was a huge commercial success. It gained immense popularity on streaming and social media platforms. Did it? But did it? But did it though? But and by who? If we can even say that's a who. It's been streamed globally more than 1.4 billion times on Spotify alone as of April 2025. Uh, on November 8th, 2024, the Recording Academy nominated Not Like Us for several Grammy Awards. In February 2025, it won Record of the Year. A week later, on February 9th, 2025, Kendrick Lamar performed Not Like Us live during the Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show. The performance is alleged to be the most watched Super Bowl halftime show of all time, with over 133.5 million views. A plaintiff brings claims for defamation, harassment in the second degree, and violation of New York General Business Law Section 349 based upon UMG's publication and promotion of Not Like Us. The defendant has filed a motion to dismiss the amended complaint. On June 30th, 2025, the court heard oral argument for both parties concerning the motion to dismiss the request for judicial notice. Plaintiff contends that he was defamed when defendant decided to publish, promote, exploit, and monetize allegations that it understood were not only false but dangerous. Plaintiff alleged that the recording repeatedly accuses Drake of engaging in criminal acts, including pedophilia and or other acts that would require registration as a sex offender and of being registered as a sex offender. The amended complaint alleges that the song implies that Lamar has heard, albeit from undisclosed sources, and concerning undisclosed individuals, that Drake has a pre a what a predec a predel a predilection for underage women, a predilection for underage. What they trying to say? Where's Kendrick Lamar trying to say he got? So you trying to say that Kendrick Lamar saying that he has heard it from uh good sources. He's heard it from reputable sources that this is something that is quote unquote true. I guess that's what they're trying to say. According to the amended complaint, the reference to Cell Block 1 is a thinly veiled threat that Drake should be careful that he never ends up in prison, a place where child predators are notoriously the target of violence. The Certified Lover Boy, Certified Pedophile is a pre-verse reference to Drake's 2021 album Certified Lover Boy. The plaintiff argues that the use of the term certified communicates that Drake has been found to be a pedophile. And the final line of his passage plays on the dual meaning of minor, a person under the age of 18 in the musical scale. Plaintiff further cites as defamatory the recording's descriptions of Drake as Malibu's most wanted, a predator, and that his name got to be registered, placed on Neighborhood Watch. The associate music video, the video shows images associated with sex trafficking to reinforce the pedophilia accusations. The recording is also accompanied by an album image of Drake's home in Toronto, which is plastered with icons used by law enforcement and public safety applications to denote the residence of registered sex offenders. Under New York law, the elements of defamation's claim, and this is the discussion here that we're moving on to, defamatory statements of fact regarding the plaintiff published to a third party that is false, made with the applicable level of fault, causing injury, not protected by privilege, live face on web or live face on web, whatever, legal jargon. A defamatory statement is not, no, a defamatory statement is one that exposes an individual to public hatred, shame, obloquy, uh, contumely, odium, contempt, ridicule, aversion, ostracism, like goddamn, degradation, disgrace, or induces an evil opinion of one in the minds of right thinking persons, and deprives one of confidence in friendly intercourse in society. Basically, I guess what you can say Kendrick Lamar has done to his fans. But I'm guessing here, and you're hearing it right here, what they're basically saying is Kendrick Lamar's fans and other people who believe this to be true, or whoever believes this to be true, are not one in I can't highlight it. Are not one in the minds of right thinking persons. Okay? So they don't consider these people to be right thinking persons, whoever is publicizing this. The court doesn't consider those individuals right thinking persons. So, with that being said, I guess that just, eliminates how much of Kendrick's fan base who believes this to be true and still post about this every day. The court doesn't see them as right thinking persons, so they rather move on to the people of sound mind, I guess. Okay, I guess that's kind of fair. The issue in this case is whether Not Like Us can reasonably be understood to convey as factual matter that Drake is a pedophile or that he is engaged in sexual relations with minors. In light of the overall context in which the statement in the recordings were made, the court holds that it cannot. They just can't come to that conclusion. Fact versus opinion. So under the First Amendment, there is no such thing as false idea. Okay? Only assertions of facts that are applicable of being proven false. Moreover, the New York Constitution provides for absolute protection of opinions. Thus, courts must distinguish between statements of fact, which may be defamatory, and expressions of opinion, which are not defamatory, and have the full protection of the New York Constitutions. Whether a challenged statement is fact or opinion is a legal question. At pleading, oh no, plaintiff argues that it is inappropriate for the courts to determine at the pleading stage whether a reasonable listener would perceive the recording as fact or opinion. Yet, because this is question of law, New York courts routinely resolve this question at the motion to dismiss stage. So basically saying that anybody who believes this can't be a reasonable listener. Anybody who would believe Not Like Us and take it for face value, once again, they're reinforcing that they can't be a person of sound mind. Okay. So again, they say they routinely answer this question in the dismissal stage. Holding on a motion to dismiss that challenge, which is this case Bryan versus Richardson, which is holding on a motion to dismiss that challenge statements constitutes opinions. Oh, that change statements constitutes opinions. Sorry. More legal jargon. Whether a statement is fact or opinion is a question of law for the courts to be decided based on what the average person is hearing or reading. The communication would take it to mean is appropriately raised at the motion to dismiss stage. Greenberg versus Spitzer. Holding that because whether a statement is defamatory presents a legal issue to be resolved by the court. Defamation actions are particularly suitable for resolution on a motion to dismiss. So there is particular value in resolving defamation claims at the pleading stage so as to not protract litigation through discovery and trial, thereby chill the exercise of constitutionally protected freedoms. In distinguishing between facts and opinion, three factors guide the court's consideration. Okay, so this is what has guided their decision to say that everything that was said in this song or that UMG allowed to be said is fair game. Whether the specific language is an issue that a precise meaning which is readily understood. So whether the specific language issues like something that this nigga is basically what he said. I mean, the nigga flat out said he was a pedophile, but I don't see how this doesn't align. It says whether the specific language is issue or in issue has a precise meaning in which is readily understood by everyone is what it should say. By everyone, everyone takes this as this nigga is a pedophile, which again, he said the shit verbatim. But I guess in some cases, if you're using slang or if you are, you know, talking in a way that most people won't understand, you know, you're talking in code or, you know, you are telling a inside joke. That's something that's not readily understood to everybody, but I don't see how calling a man a pedophile flat out isn't readily understood by everyone. So let's continue. Whether the statement whether the statements are capable of being proven true or false. And let's stop right there, which it's really not, if we're being honest, this is not anything that we can concrete prove to be true or false, but I mean, with Drake, if anything, we can conclude undeniably that it's false with everybody who's came forward and spoke on Drake's behalf. So, if anything, we can conclude undeniably that these allegations are false. Whether either the full context of the communication in which the statement appears or the broader social context and surrounding circumstances are such as to signal readers or listeners that what is being read or heard is likely to be an opinion. So basically, again, with this being in the context of a rap battle, it's understood by many listeners or readers that what's being said is likely to be opinion, basically. It's understood by us fans, it's understood by us listeners that what is going to be said back and forth, there may be some lies, there may be some truth, but we can largely agree or at least meet in the middle that most of this may be opinion and not fact. But the more scathing things got, you know, and with the higher, with the stakes as high as they are, and as they continue to rose, it seemed like both sides more and more wanted to believe that the things being said were factual, they were true. Okay. The court conducts this inquiry through the lens of a reasonable listener. Plaintiff suit is focused on a single fact message conveyed by the recording, the false allegation that Drake is a pedophile. This statement is readily understandable, meaning that it is capable of being proven true or false. But even accusations of criminal behavior are not actionable if understood in context. They are opinion rather than fact. And this is Hayashi versus Azawa or Ozawa. Thus, the court will focus on its analysis on the third factor. So, ruling out these two, which I don't know why, I guess that's basically what they're saying. They just want to focus on this third factor that says whether either the full context of the communication in which the statement appears or the broader social context and surrounding circumstances are such as to signal readers or listeners that what is being read or heard is likely to be opinion and not fact. Okay? If there's some type of context to tell the listeners that what is being said is only opinion. Okay. Um, the impact that the statements would have on a reasonable listener, again, they're pointing out reasonable listeners. Context includes that forum in which the communication was published, the surrounding circumstances, the tone and language of the communication, and its apparent purpose. The forum. To start, the court considers the forum in which the alleged the allegedly defamatory statements as that appears that is a useful gauge for determining whether the reasonable reader will treat it more readily as opinion than fact. So that basically most of us listening are only treating this as okay, these niggas just talking, which was, if you could, and if we're being honest, see was the sentiment amongst a lot of people. Like, all right, we're gonna have to start seeing some receipts. We're gonna have to start seeing something. Kendrick gonna have to start producing a child. We're gonna have to see some receipts that, Kendrick was whooping Whitney's ass. We're gonna have to see some receipts. And it started becoming this back and forth where we were, like, okay, this shit could be true, but until somebody produces some receipts, until we get some concrete evidence that what's going on is, or what's being said is 100% fact, then we just taking this as rap, which I can honestly say, after a certain point, especially after we started getting to the meet the grams, yeah, that started to be the sentiment, because Kendrick started saying things that it was just like, all right, bro, you just saying shit that is to the point in where it's like, all right, we got to start seeing something. You know what I'm saying? So he upped the ante to the point where it was just like, all right, what are we talking about here? Where is this going? Or how do you know this? Like, what are you saying? Like, you can't just say this and not. It started getting to that point, okay? And I remember vividly those conversations being had. So that shit is gonna happen. That shit may very well be accurate and true. Most reasonable listeners who know, okay, this nigga Kendrick is saying all of this shit, but we gotta see something. Like, where are you getting this from? Like, what are you talking about? You feel me? It was just being said on both sides. So I don't I can't really argue with that point of it because I truly feel like the sentiment started to get like that. Even I started saying like, all right, we got to start. Somebody got to start producing some paperwork or something. All right, so it says, for example, the average listener is more likely to understand statements made on a news program or a journalistic piece to be factual, while statements made in the opinion page of a newspaper or internet comment page are generally perceived as opinion. And that is per Brian versus New York, I guess, right? Or Millis versus Newsday Incorporated, and Brian versus New York or whoever. But for example, the average listener. No, we did that. Um, the common, the common expect, the common expectation is that the columns and articles published on a newspaper op-ed sections will represent the viewpoints of their authors and, as such, contain considerable hyperbole, speculation, diversified forms of expression and opinion. So, the culture of internet communications as distinct from that print media from that print of media as newspapers and magazines has been characterized as encouraging a freewheeling, anything goes writing style. A freewheeling. The fact that the allegedly defamatory statement appeared on Twitter conveys a strong signal to a reasonable reader that this was defendant's opinion, used to disseminate the alleged defamation, a WordPress blog, social media post, and unsigned press release complaining about the litigation tactics suggests to readers that they contain opinions, not facts, and they are written in the amateurish fashion. Oh shit. Who's saying who they calling the amateur? The forum in which the statement appears is not. Oh, I'm guessing they're talking about where Kendrick obviously got half of these allegations. Okay, so the forum here is music recording is a music recording in a particular rap diss track with accompanying video and album art. Diss tracks are much more akin to forums like YouTube and X, which encourage a freewheeling, anything goes writing style than journalistic reporting, even that of journalistic reporting. So they're saying that rap is even a step down from op-ed or journalistic reporting because this is where you commonly come to just say anything, whether it's true or not. And it's accepted as art, it's accepted as a sport, and we all accept that to be true. Like YouTube and X, which encourage freewheeling anything goes writing style, than journalistic reporting. The average listener is not under the impression that a diss track is the product of a thoughtful or disinterested investigation, or yeah, disinterested investigation conveying to the public fact checked verifiable content. Next, the court considers the full context of the communication in which the statement appears, including the setting surrounding the communication, that the fact that the recording was made in the midst of a rap battle is essential to assessing its impact on a reasonable listener. Even apparent statements of fact may assume the character of statements of opinion when made in public debate, heated labor dispute, or other circumstances in which an audience may anticipate the use of what is this? Epithes, fiery rhetoric, or hyperbole. As context is key, defamatory statements advanced during the course of a heated public debate, during which the audience would reasonably anticipate the use. The decision by the New York Court of Appeals in Steinhilber is intrusive in this regard. In Steinhilber, the allegedly defamatory statements were published in a tape recording telephone message that was played automatically to anyone dialing the private phone number that was given to a labor union member. The union had assessed a fine against the plaintiff after she had defied a strike order, and the phone message appeared after she had failed to pay the fine. The New York Court of Appeals found that the most significant circumstance was that the message was prepared and played as part of the union's effort to punish a former member. The court highlighted that the emotional aftermath of the strike, when animosity would be expected to persist, particularly against a former member who was seen as a traitor to the cause, that a listener would not expect that any insult lobbed at would be factual in nature. And similarly to Torian versus Liu, the Second Circuit affirmed the dismissal of a complaint at the pleading stage, holding that as a matter of law, comments that the plaintiff was a sick racist pedophile, a loser pedophile, a broadcaster pedophile, a child predator, a lunatic, and that he must be put behind bars were expressions of opinion. In reaching this conclusion, the Second Circuit relied upon the context in which these statements were made. Specifically, the comments were part of a war of words between disc jockeys and rival radio stations that received extensive media coverage and commentary. As part of that feud, the plaintiff made comments on air suggesting that he would sexually abuse the minor daughter of the defendant. Who was this? Now I gotta stop and see who. Torian versus Lou. Let's look that. Let's see about that real quick. I gotta see about that. I'm trying to see if that was like anybody prominent here. Because that's a little crazy. The Broham said he was going to sexually assault somebody's daughter. We gotta pull that up. And is a city councilman. Kitty City council member John Liu is facing a defamation suit from radio disc jockey for calling the man a pedophile. But the court action has not changed its tune about Torian, a professionally known as Star. So this is Star. This was Star, nor his tone. Responding to the suit filed in federal court, Lou snapped back, "I'm relieved Torian is now targeting me instead of little girls." The fact remains through the fact remains though that this is a grown man who states in his most public of ways that he wants to sexually assault and commit deviant acts. Who was talking? Why is this nigga talking like this? Oh my god. Commit deviant acts on a 4-year-old girl, and that, in my book, is a sick pedophile. Nah, hold up, son. Can I really find this, please? Was this Star? I'm trying to see if I can actually find a video on this shit. I mean this is some 2008 shit. Damn, did I find something?
Inside City Hall. Earlier this week, we spoke
Oh, come on.
with the controversial DJ, radio DJ, known as Star, who repeatedly attacked our next guest and explained why, get this, he's suing him for defamation. Here to respond to the tough talk is Queens City Councilman John Liu. Welcome back to the program.
There.
Before you respond to the defamation suit, on the program with the mother of the 4-year-old child. For folks that might not be familiar with it, Star goes on the radio show and said that, quote, he wanted to the he by armed doctor anyone that doing school and for this 4-year-old child and our DJ often
So you're just getting in here. If you're just getting in here, he's referring to Star going at DJ Envy. And this is what the judge, I'm guessing, how they ruled and what they referenced in ruling on the UMG versus Drake case. They directly went ahead and referenced what was going on here. I'm guessing, I believe this was in 2008.
Kelly, allegedly meaning in this case, sexual act in your lady.
Oh,
About it. And he basically told us anyone that really listens to the show not and really listen serious. I think he really
I don't specifically hear you saying in regards to I think something happened to anyone that with a radio I said would bring damage. Don't think knows my history. So who with that?
yeah, counsel.
I'm gratified that this guy is now going out. airwaves and no longer able to make these threats to little children. And he's now
So I had to fix this real quick.
against little children.
Stream real quick.
Going on
We having a
TV
little
talking about
technical
how he wants to do a
difficulties. Real
television
quiet.
show, he's writing a book, yada,
We
yada,
still
yada.
here?
The important thing is that he is off the public airwaves and no longer able to make these kinds of threats against little children. And he's now pursuing a new job because right now he's unemployed.
Yeah.
Do you see him? And he told us repeatedly he is coming back, and he would not answer the question of whether or not Clear Channel, company that owns a radio station, is still paying him.
Well, that's the point. Good point. And in fact, there's been a whole lot of fuss about this guy about stuff guy touring. Not about him. Any switch could go on the radio, say a stupid thing, and get paid bucks for doing so. The real culprit in this matter is Clear Channel Corporation. They're a corporate giant who purposefully sold out touring. A guy like what I like touring, could be anybody. Who say the most outrageously push the envelope further and further on public schools. All for what? Just this big area to make more money. Clear Channel went to Terrain and hired him $17 million shortly after he
YouTube is fucking up a little bit. Or the stream. Or YouTube was fucking up the stream a little bit. But, okay, so basically, what I'm showing y'all is, again, what was being used or what's being referenced in the case of, you know, UMG, Kendrick Lamar, and Drake. They're directly referencing what happened here years ago and looking at this, where, I mean, I kind of don't see how it aligns. I kind of do. But I mean, we'll get back into, you know, them explaining exactly where they're coming from with this, I guess. But I don't really know where they're coming from. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know where they're coming from with it. Let me take 1 second to throw it back on, cause yeah, YouTube was fucking up the stream a little bit for whatever reason. But I wanna continue it because this is directly what they're referencing in this case. Okay, make sure we back. Okay.
sort out Terrain. Who will say outrageous push the envelope further and further on public areas. All more money. First, push the Clear Channel and Terrain and him for $17 million shortly after he was fired. Another race also and shortly after Clear Channel paid him up so that in the whole comments that Clear Channel make even would make even money and make more profit. And so this is the that responsible for what happened in May over our public